what is Chris Getz possibly talking about? What is he possibly talking about? Does he have fan graphs?
Probably
Is this the only current general manager in all of sports that isn't allowed to know his team's actual roster?
Well, he said he didn't like it, so he wants to get rid of guys like Dylan Cease.
Okay, but this is
I don't like our team.
No one does. But this was at the winter meetings yesterday when he's describing what the Sox are doing right now.
Yeah, I think retool is a good way to phrase it, and I say that because we do have talent on this roster. Obviously, it hasn't worked, and so you've got to be creative and find ways to improve it. Whether that be, we talk about the makeup and the chemistry of the team, or certainly add depth or acquire players that are just flat out better. We're on a pursuit to improve this team, and there's different ways to go about it.
Retooling? The worst place to be in sports is rebuilding and not knowing you're rebuilding.
Delusional rebuild?
It's my own delusional rebuild. It's to not know where you are as a team. So they're going to trade Jimenez if they can, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to trade Cease.
Yep.
So you need...
Luis Robert, he stays.
At the moment...
Poor Luis Robert has to stay.
At the moment, you need a starting staff. You need almost an entire bullpen and multiple starters and bench players. Can I give you the current White Sox opening day lineup?
Yes.
And this is with Jimenez and Cease.
Yep.
Okay? This is... Wow. Your left fielder is Andrew Benintendi, who's bad.
I don't know that he's bad.
Good defender.
He's just what they hired him to do.
Ish.
Look at his numbers. They're bad.
Well, he's not a home run hitter, but I've always said your highest paid player on a baseball team in 2023 should be your home run hitter.
He's a left fielder in that park.
Yeah.
And his numbers are bad. He slugged .356 last year.
But wasn't, okay, not to be all hawk, but wasn't his average like 270 some odd, 280?
262.
Yeah, it was worse than I thought.
Okay, Andrew Benintendi. Andrew Vaughn, who's is your first baseman, especially as a first baseman. If you're a first baseman and you don't have close to an 800 OPS, something's wrong.
You know who would flourish on another team?
Andrew Vaughn?
Andrew Vaughn.
Maybe.
No, I think so.
Maybe. Luis Robert, currently still in center. Yoan Moncada is at third, however many games he's actually going to play for you. Eloy Jimenez is the DH. He's leaving, so you're going to have somebody else at the DH. Your right fielder is Oscar Colas, who is bad. Your shortstop is Paul DeYoung, who is bad. Your second baseman is Nicky Lopez, who is bad. And can you name the White Sox current starting catcher?
Is it Sevi?
No, he's gone.
Oh, that's right.
They got rid of Sevi.
That's right. Ugh.
Anyone? White Sox current starting catcher?
I've forgotten.
Corey Lee.
Oh, it is Corey Lee because they called him up.
Corey Lee is listed as the White Sox current starting catcher. He had in 70 plate appearances, batted .077, on base 143, but he slugged a robust 138. Here's your bench.
That was that trade with the Astros.
Your backup catcher is Carlos Perez.
Who started more games in September than Corey.
Then you have Romy Gonzalez, Zach Remillard, and Gavin Sheets. That's your bench. That's barely a major league roster at that point.
Well, let's do the starting rotation.
You want to get into the pitchers now? You want to get into the current listed starters? Dylan Cease is at the top. They're trading him. So you're not going to have Dylan Cease.
Oh, man.
So then you've got Touki Toussaint, Michael Soroka, Jared Schuster, and Michael Kopech. That's
Jesse Schultens probably gets in that mix.
Not a major league starting staff, okay? And then your bullpen is some combination of Jimmy Lambert, Tanner Banks, Garrett Crochet, Gregory Santos, Luis Patino, Davy Garcia, Johan Ramirez, Sammy Peralta. You're not retooling. You're not retooling. I don't know what he thinks is maybe he's looking at a different team and a different roster. But I don't know what you think you're doing here.
You know who called this? And in July, Bob Nightingale. And Chris Getz is just repeating everything that Jerry Reinsdorf is saying. Like Bob Nightingale said this in July, that they preferred a soft rebuild or whatever they wanted to call it, some sort of retool. And that was their approach to the trade deadline. By the way, Joe Kelly just signed with the Dodgers again. Did you see that?
I saw it. They had an option that they declined, and he became a free agent, and then they signed him to new terms, I believe. So that is, but they love him out there. He loves pitching there.
He even
love
had a
him.
bobblehead.
Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
Yeah, no, he's a huge deal out there. Maybe it's because he embraces the Mexican side of his heritage, and there's a whole thing. I don't know.
You also just have to be good at your job. I think he's just better there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm serious. That is, I don't know what the hell they think they're doing.
Go White Sox.
If they think that's a retool.
His bobblehead's pretty great. It's the Mariachi Joe Kelly bobblehead. Yeah, I mean, where do you begin? What do you think you're getting? You think you're going to trade Dylan Cease for big league ready talent when you have what's considered one of the worst farm systems in baseball, and that's with having 3 top 100 prospects, 2 of which you got from the Angels when you traded Reynaldo and Giolito?
I mean, is that really a question?
So then you decided to sign Paul Young when Colson Montgomery will be 22 in the Major League season, 22 or 21. But we all know that's, 16 in Sox years.
He's currently 21, so...
Yeah, so 22, I think he's 22 come Major League season.
Born on February 27th, so yes.
Aha. So...
February birthday, good guy.
And he's, at last I checked, the number 17 prospect in the system, or in Major League Baseball. He's the number 1 prospect in the system. 17 overall. But you decided you didn't want to do that, even though you say you're not rebuilding.
Huh?
Don't be
You
players.
didn't pick up the option on Tim Anderson, so he's a free agent. So in theory, you could have cheaply picked him up and then traded him for something.
And then instead, you're the only team that offers a major league contract to
Paul DeYoung,
the shortstop,
who played in the state of Missouri, which is apparently the qualifier now.
Well, at least Tony La Russa is doing the work here. Maybe
Who was at the winter meetings, by the way?
He's running the team.
Yeah,
Of course he's at the winter meetings. Why would he miss the winter meetings? He's still got his fingerprints on everything. Tony La Russa's doing all this stuff. Chris Getz is just happy to have the job because he told Reinsdorf everything he wanted to hear. Everyone wanted to hear. Oh yeah, I can turn this thing around. You can't look outside the organization. I'm ready. I know everybody. I can hit the ground running and get this thing going. You can?
I don't like our team.
When Jerry said that he wanted to rebuild, but he thought that hiring Getz was going to shave off a year of evaluation.
And now Getz like, well, it's going to take me a lot of time here. Boy, this is a big lift. I'm going to have to really look this thing over. They're retooling. Come on. You better rebuild it. That's why you should be listening to everything. Restock your system and get poor Luis Robert out of here.
I don't know what consultant is telling people to say this now, but I don't necessarily know that it's working because people get behind rebuilds. The White Sox fan base actually bought in to the rebuild. So did the collective media around it. And the Bears said the same thing. They were like, oh, this isn't a rebuild. Yes, it absolutely was. And if you had said that, there would have been more patience given to you this year. And we're going to get into that a little bit as well.
Mm-hmm.
But softening it for nobody's benefit isn't doing anyone any favors here.
You don't have to tell me it's something. It bothers me more if he actually believes it. It's one thing if you're lying. I'd rather he be lying. I'd rather he be just like, look, I know this team sucks, and we got to tear this thing down to the studs and rebuild the farm system. But my belief is that he's not lying.
No, I agree with
He
that.
actually
I
thinks
agree
that they're
with
just
that.
tinkering around the edges. So it's the difference between 93 losses and 104 losses?
But here's
To do what?
I guess when you don't take responsibility for being the assistant general manager before you're promoted to general manager, maybe you can do that. When you've somehow magically detached yourself from the outcome that you very much had a hand in.